Hey everybody, the Network Berg. In this lecture, we'll be discussing DNS and system time on MikroTik routers. So this is going to be not a too long lecture, but it is vital to understand what functions DNS and system time has on a device. So let's get into the video. All right, there we go. We're in a Winbox session and we're going to learn a bit about DNS. So before we set any DNS up on the MikroTik device, I first just want to do a brief overview of what DNS is. And don't worry, it's not like a big in-depth lecture. It's just, in essence, DNS is an application that computers use in order to resolve a host name to an IP address. So it will get the information of www.google.com when we put that into our browser and we hit enter. Then the computer will actually in the background connect to a DNS server and ask its DNS server, hey, do you know what this host name resolves to? What is the IP address associated with this host name? And then the DNS server will say, yes, I know what the IP address is. Here it is. And then your computer will actually use the IP address to connect. Because the connectivity actually works on an IP address level still. Your computers aren't connecting just with the host names. We just use the host names because it makes a lot more sense to us. Imagine if we had to remember all the thousands of IP addresses or websites that we connect to as IP addresses. It would be crazy. I just quickly want to show you also how DNS kind of operates using a tool called Wireshark. It's a packet capture software. It's not needed for the MTCNA, but it kind of just helps us see actually what's happening with DNS. So I'm just going to use my own computer and Wireshark for this. So I'll just open up Wireshark quickly. I'm just going to run a trace against my own Ethernet adapter connected to my MikroTik. It's busy running a trace now. So this is seeing everything that my computer is doing with this MikroTik. Pretty cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up a browser and I'm going to connect to www.mikrotik.com. And presto, I'm at MikroTik.com. So I'll quickly go back to Wireshark and I'll just stop this packet capture. And I'm just going to drill down quickly and find www.mikrotik.com. So if I look at this, I can actually see there's a DNS protocol being used. And the basic thing that you want to see here is these first two lines. So basically there's a source, which is my machine, my host. It's actually going to 8.8.8.8, which is its DNS server, and it's actually asking there, what is www.mikrotik.com? And then in the second line, 8.8.8.8 is actually responding to my computer and saying, hey, MikroTik.com, it's actually this IP address. So if I go into command prompt and I ping www.mikrotik.com, we can actually see what IP address it's resolving to. So that is how DNS works. That's what it's doing. And now we're going to set up DNS on MikroTik. This isn't going to be to set up a DNS server, but it's practically going to be to allow the MikroTik to resolve host names whenever it's pinging. So what I want us to do is we're going to go into IP, we're going to go into DNS, and if you have PPPoE or if you have a DHCP client, you might dynamically obtain a DNS server, which I have here, or you could set your DNS server manually. So I might make mine 8.8.8.8, and to have redundancy, I'll click on the down arrow and hit 1.1.1.1, and now I've got two DNS servers applied if I ever need to get somewhere. So if Google goes down, then I can at least still get to 1.1.1.1 to do DNS or resolution. So let me just apply that, and then we can just verify that the DNS is working or the service is working by pinging a host name. So let's ping www.google.com, and I can actually see that resolves. So that definitely means the DNS is working. Great. I can also do a few other cool little things on the MikroTik. You can allow for remote requests so that remote clients can also connect to do DNS using your MikroTik. And you can also set up static DNS on the MikroTik. So if I set up a static entry, and I example called this home, and I made the address whatever I want to make it, 8.8.8, or let me just type it in as Google, but no .com or anything, it's just Google, and 8.8.8.8 is what that resolves to. If I go back to the DNS and I just ping Google, you can actually see that resolves as well, and that's because of the static DNS entry. So if you've got home users and you maybe want to set a name for maybe like a NAS or something, then you can obviously call it like NAS and make its IP address whatever the NAS's IP address is. And then if you ping NAS, then it will also get a response. All right, so that covers DNS. Let's jump into the next section. All right, so we've looked at DNS. Now we're going to look at another application called NTP, which is basically a time protocol that allows your MikroTik to automatically obtain time. But before we set up NTP, I just want us to understand the clock. So if you go to your system and you go to clock, this is basically the time that's set for the MikroTik device. If the MikroTik has some weird configuration, or if it's like a CHR or a CCR, then you might need to first come in and set the time like it is here for the MikroTik to obtain the right time. Let me just show you. I just want to add time, or let me add date and time to this MikroTik in the widgets. So if there was some error, then it might have said something like it's 1970 or so. If I look at the manual clock, yes, it might say it's January the 1st, 1970, which we definitely know it's not. These devices didn't even exist at that time. So if you have inaccurate time, then it will reflect inaccurately with some of your services. So that's specifically things like your logging. So your logs might be completely incorrect because it's going to show the wrong time and date whenever stuff happens. So always make sure your time and date settings are correct. And if you just want to obtain the settings automatically, all that you can do is you can come to your clock, you can set your time zone firstly, just find your correct time zone, you can apply that, and then we're going to set up NTP now, or on MikroTik we're going to call that SNTP Client. So the SNTP Client will effectively automatically update the router board's time and date settings to be correct, which it obtains from a time server. So to enable this, it's very straightforward. You just click on the enable button, and now you can either set the NTP servers with their IPs, or if you have DNS configured, you can put in the name server of that NTP. So I might do something like time.nist.gov, which is a public NTP, and I'll apply that. And there it gets the server's IP. And now this will actually update the time automatically from that time server. So whenever there's a shift, or it will always make sure the time is correct basically. And that is useful for our logging and other services we might be running as well. Cool, so that covers clocks, DNS and NTP. All right. Since we're covering quite a few applications, I thought it might be worthwhile to just go over a few common ports that the internet uses, because I think it is half expected of anybody working on the network to understand some of the common ports. And these aren't just your basic, I don't want to go to Wikipedia and show you the thousands of ports that you have that you can connect to. This is just more or less ports that are commonly used and people are aware of whenever they connect on the internet and what they do. And I might bring up a Wikipedia article quickly, so but it's not so that you get confused by it. I'm just going to Google common ports, and I'm going to go into this list of TCP and UDP ports, and I'll just bring it here. And many of these ports are basically assigned by IANA, and these ports are supposed to be used for these functions. If you change your port, then it's probably something in a private sector that you're doing it, but for all public communications, this is how those comms are established. And stuff that you might see is port 20 and 21 for your FTP stuff. 23 is very common for your telnet, but it is unencrypted, so not that secure. 25 for your SMTP, for sending of the emails. There's NTP, which we just dealt with, which is running on port 37. And this port 53 on TCP and UDP, it's actually being used for DNS. So something to just be aware of. Another common port you might see is something like 110, even though this is kind of being phased out. It's POP3, which is to receive mails from a POP server, but I don't think many people still use POP these days, to be honest. And then you get some more very common ones. I think another common one that I might say is 3389, which is something you'd use to RDP with. So these are ports that I would just, I don't say you need to know them off heart, and don't come to this page and look at every last port because you're going to go wild. or mad looking at everything. But this is definitely a good place to see what each port does. But the ports I called out is very like standard ports that you might work with on a day-to-day basis. All right, so that's covering up the lecture, and that's all that I wanted to say. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next video.